Hello. Today I'm going to be explaining the FAA's Airman Certification Standards, or ACS. What is the ACS? The Airman Certification Standard, or ACS, is an essential document for anyone seeking to be a pilot or get their pilot rating. Simply, the ACS is the current standard that clearly defines what a pilot must know or consider and do to pass their check ride. It's a replacement for the older practical test, which was the PTS, and it represents a significant upgrade in how the FAA ensures safety and competence in our skies. The core problem and solution to the ACS. The old system, the PTS, had lots of problems. The written test and the flight test were separate, and it felt often disconnected, or it didn't feel like it went together. If you memorized facts for the written exam, that they wouldn't necessarily carry over into the practical exam, which often led to lots of safety topics like decision making that were just vague and overall. The FAA created the ACS to fix this though. It's the new integrated standard that links the ground instruction, written portion, the flight maneuvers, and safety most of all into one coherent framework that makes training much more relevant and effective. The three integrated pillars of the ACS. The three pillars of the ACS are three core pillars which are applied to every single task on a practical test, from simple ground reference maneuver to an emergency procedure for any given task. The examiner is going to be required to evaluate your knowledge, risk management, and skill. Knowledge is what the applicant must know to perform the task. Risk management is what the applicant must consider to perform the task safely, and skill is what the applicant must be able to do in the aircraft. Knowledge, the way I see it, knowledge is like your written portion. You must know why you're doing this, when to do this. Risk management is the safety. Why am I doing, like, this kind of falls into the why am I doing this, or if you do said action wrong, you know how to you know how to counteract it since you're managing the risk. And then skill is you actually getting in the aircraft and doing it, the practical part. You're doing it over and over to refine your skills. So this kind of mitigates risk management, but something can always happen, so you always need to know how to mitigate risk or counteract it if it were to happen. Why the FAA uses the ACS. The FAA uses the ACS primarily to achieve two critical goals: enhanced safety and national standardization. First, by explicitly integrating risk management into every single task. The FAA shifts the focus towards preventing accidents. The FAA is always on accidents. If there's a crash, they're the first to know about it. They don't want any crashes happening in the sky whatsoever. Second, the ACS provides a clear flight plan for applicants, instructors, and examiners alike, ensuring that the certification standards are consistent across the country. Every teacher is going to teach differently. Every instructor is going to teach differently, but they all have a certain plan and they all have a road mark, and each check needs to be checked off. That's why we have the ACS. And finally, uh, sorry, lost track. This clarity and uniformity guarantees that every pilot who earns an FAA certificate has met the same modern minimum standards. So we're all kind of trained equally in a way. Finally, we have the ACS coding system. The ACS coding system is a unique system. They use an acronym called PAVE, the PAVE checklist to provide precise feedback. If you miss a question on your written test, like you get an 80, then the examiner who actually does your practical test is going to be is going to ask those questions. That 20% you missed, if it's on airspace, you are almost guaranteed to do airspace related questions on your check ride. Or if you miss certain safety maneuvers, you are going to do those on the check ride because they want to make sure you are a competent pilot. In summary, the ACS is the FAA's integrated safety first framework that links knowledge, risk management, and skill into one clear standard, ensuring that every newly certified airman is prepared not just to fly, but to fly safely and responsibly. That's all I have today. Thank you.